I thought my parents had a perfect marriage. A fairy tale, really. 40 years of quiet devotion, inside jokes, shared glances across the dinner table. My father, George. My mother, Evelyn. They were my anchor, proof that true love existed, that life could be stable and good. They built a life I admired, a home filled with warmth and laughter. And then, my father died. Suddenly, a heart attack. He was gone. And in the suffocating silence he left behind, the perfect world they'd built, it began to crack. Slowly at first, like a hairline fracture you barely notice. And then it shattered. Into a million razor-sharp pieces. Pieces of a truth so ugly, so unbelievable, it made me question everything I thought I knew about love, loyalty, and the people I called family. The first few weeks after Dad was a blur of grief. People coming and going, hushed condolences, the smell of stale flowers. Mom was a ghost, drifting through the house, her eyes vacant. I tried to be strong for her, handling the practicalities, the endless paperwork. His will was simple. Everything to Mom. Our family home, their small savings, his old car. Nothing complicated. Nothing. Unusual.it was about a month later. I was helping Mom finally tackle Dad's study. It was exactly as he'd left it. His pipe still in the ashtray, the newspaper folded on his desk, a half-finished crossword puzzle. It felt like disturbing a tomb. We were clearing out drawers, deciding what to keep, what to donate. And in the back of his bottom filing cabinet, tucked beneath stacks of old tax documents, I found this. IT wasn't locked. It was just hidden. Like he didn't want it found during a casual tidy-up, but maybe knew it might be found someday. My hands were shaking. I didn't know why. It wasn't heavy. Just felt important. Inside, there wasn't treasure. Not the kind you expect, anyway. There were letters, tied with a faded ribbon, a small stack of photographs, and a folded piece of paper that looked like a deed. The letters weren't addressed to my father. They were addressed from him, to someone named, and the return address wasn't our house. It was a P.O. box in a town about an hour away. The letters were dated, not from recent years, but decades ago, back before I was born. Some even from the year my parents got married. I started reading. My heart was pounding. These weren't business letters. They were intimate, filled with longing, regret, hope. Words like, "My dearesta, when will we see each other again? I hate this distance, if only things were different." They spoke of stolen moments, shared dreams they couldn't pursue, the pain of separation. It was clear. My father, my perfect, devoted father, was writing love letters to someone who wasn't my mother. The world tilted. The ground I thought was solid evaporated. This wasn't possible. Not George. Not Dad. He wasn't that man. He was honorable, kind, the most loyal person I knew. He adored Mom. Their entire history, the stories they told, the life they lived, was it all a performance? Then I looked at the photos. They weren't pictures of they were landscapes. A specific, rustic-looking cottage by a lake. A path through woods. A distinctive old oak tree. Places that were clearly significant to him and the deed? It was for that cottage. In that town an hour away. And it wasn't in my father's name. It was in two names. A. Miller. Anne. Evelyn Miller. Evelyn Miller. My mother, the confusion deepened. Was my mother? But the letters read like a secret affair, full of yearning for a life they couldn't have together. If was my mother, why the secrecy? Why the P.O. box? Why the tone of forbidden love? And why, after 40 years of marriage, were these letters hidden away like a guilty secret? Unless the affair wasn't with my mother. Unless it was with someone else, and my mother was involved in some other way? Maybe she found the letters and kept them? But why keep the deed to a property she owned with this mysterious, I couldn't breathe. The grief for my father was suddenly contaminated with this poison of suspicion. I looked at my mother, still lost in her own sorrow, and saw a stranger. Was she grieving the loss of her husband? Or the loss of a carefully constructed lie? I went back to the box, reread the letters, scrutinized the photos, looked at the dates on the deed. It was purchased the year before my parents got married. Before. And the letters covered a span of about 5 years, starting around that time. They spoke of difficult choices, sacrifices, needing to maintain appearances that I had to know. I couldn't live with this. This wasn't just about an affair. It felt bigger, darker. It felt like the foundation of my life was built on sand. I waited for the right moment. Mom was having a slightly better day. She was sitting in the living room, looking through old photo albums. I brought the box out. "Mom," I said, my voice trembling. I was going through Dad's study. "I found this." The color drained from her face. Her eyes, which had been just sad, became wide with something else. Fear? Resignation? Guilt? She didn't say anything, just looked at the box. At me. And I knew. In that instant, I knew this wasn't something she was finding out about with me. She knew. "Mom, what is this?" I asked, my voice barely a whisper. "Who is a? What are these letters?" She looked down at the letters. Didn't open them. Just held them. And she started to cry. Not the quiet tears of grief she'd shed for weeks. These were deep, wrenching sobs. The kind that come from carrying a burden for too long. She didn't deny anything. Not directly. She just kept saying, "Oh, Clara. Oh, honey. I was hoping you'd never find these. Mom, please." Who is a? Was he having an affair? All those years ago. The words felt alien, wrong, tumbling out of my mouth about my father. She shook her head, but it wasn't a denial of the letters. It was a denial of the simplistic interpretation. It wasn't what you think, Clara. Wasn't what I think? What else could it be? Love letters, a hidden property owned with someone else, secret communication? It screamed affair. A long ago, but clearly significant, affair. And the realization hit me, cold and hard. If it was an affair, and Mom knew about it, and she'd kept these letters and the deed, was she just a victim? Or was she something else? An enabler? Or worse? "Mom, the deed," I pressed, holding it up. "It's in your name. And A. Miller's name." "Who is A. Miller?" She finally looked at me. Her eyes red and swollen, but clear now. And she said a name that stopped my heart. "A. Miller. That's Arthur. Arthur Miller. Arthur. Arthur Miller. Dad's best friend. My Uncle Arthur. He was practically family. He'd been in our lives forever. Known my parents since they were teenagers. He was at every holiday, every birthday. He was my godfather. Arthur? Arthur was it the recipient of my father's secret love letters? The co-owner of a hidden property? This wasn't just an affair between my father and some unknown woman. This was incestuous betrayal of the deepest kind. My father betraying his wife and his best friend? Or was it Arthur betraying his best friend by being with his wife? Or was my mother betraying my father with Arthur? The deed was in her name and Arthur's. The letters were from my father to Arthur. It didn't make sense. My head was spinning. Arthur. I choked out. Dad was writing these to Arthur? The deed, it's your name and Arthur's? What in God's name is going on, Mom?